Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head-to-head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
World of Outlaws Dirt Racing is available now. Download your copy today.
Welcome one, welcome all to SimSpeed TV for the first round of a brand new series from Aussie Online Gaming. It's the V8 Super Series. What a schedule, what a format, what an everything really. We're back broadcasting Monday Night V8s on SimSpeed TV, but this time it is a hosted league by the great folks at AOG. First round, of course, at the international layout of Silverstone Circuit in the United Kingdom. And boy, have we got a hard and fast night of racing coming up for you. To bring it to you all live across YouTube, Facebook, and Twitch is myself, Reese Gardner, with Jay Kennedy alongside me in the comms box. We are going to have a second commentator with us for the rest of the season. But Jay's with me for the first round, and, well, I've been looking forward to this for quite some time, ever since it was announced at the end of the Porsche Cup season, Jay.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it too. It's very, very different to everything else that AOG's done. First step into the V8 realm, and what an alternate curveball choice we've got for round one here at Silverstone. Not the normal layout, not the Grand Prix layout, not the shortened version that we've seen in the past, but it's the opposite short version. We've seen this version used in the Porsche Tag Heuer Esports Super Cup qualifying series. Now we're going to run it in the V8s. The shortened version cuts off at the exit of turn 3 at Village and then shortens through, rejoins the circuit at Chapel. Only 9 turns, but plenty of passing in these cars. Drafting is going to be important, but this is going to be really, really fun. The main thing about this series is it's all sprint races all night long. It's going to be very fun.
Absolutely it is. And, you know, ever since iRacing added the current layout of Silverstone, I've thought, geez, this national layout would be really good for V8s. And finally, I'm getting to see some racing on it. So this is going to be fantastic. Some interesting turns on this layout of the circuit. Of course, we miss out Cops and the Beckett's S's and all of that, but the turns that we do get on this layout, quite interesting. Of course, as you mentioned, Jay, slipstreaming down the hangar straight into Stowe. We've got the epic opening turns of Abbey and Farm. That great overtaking opportunity at Village, and then going through the loop, which cuts off the hairpin there. That could be difficult to go through in these cars. Evidently, wheel spin always a trouble in these machines, but it will be interesting to see how the drivers tackle it.
Well, one other part of that section is there's a really big hump that is through that bit too. So if you're unloaded coming through that section, you will lose a lot of time and a lot of ground. So Going to see drivers sort themselves out very, very quickly through there. Going to be very, very interesting. We'll get into the format though, because I tell you what, this is even more interesting. A big curveball and something I don't think we've ever seen in a series before, something drivers have really got to think about, is that everyone is limited to 5 laps in qualifying. It's an open qualifying session, open setups, do what you want, but you've only got 5 times that are going to go on the board. So if you do any more than that, they're a waste. So you've really got to plan when you leave to go out for your qualifying run. Some drivers are leaving it to the last second. Other drivers are going out early. Some drivers have sort of split their session up into 2. What do you do and how do you tackle the 15 minutes?
Exactly, especially with plenty of other cars out on track with you at the same time. You've got to be careful not to run into anyone when you're on a hot lap. Otherwise, that is one of your 5 opportunities wasted. And as you mentioned, Jay, it is nothing but sprint races in this championship. We've got 3 races here at Silverstone, each 14 laps or 20 minutes each, whichever comes first. Of course, manual safety cars, as is the case at AOG always, and progressive grids. The finishing order of races 2 and 3 will be decided by the finishing orders of the race before. And this is what we've got coming up for the rest of the season. Every couple of weeks we're running, then we go to some fantastic circuits across the world. We, of course, start at Silverstone and then Watkins Glen Cup. We all know how good that track is in the V8s. Red Bull Ring and Imola are going to be quite interesting. We've got a street race at Belle Isle for round 5, and then ending off the season at Oschersleben and Zolder. Haven't seen Oschersleben in the V8s yet. It is coming up on the V8 Scops schedule later in the year, but I will be interested to see how these cars tackle that track.
And the schedules match up to the 2 big V8 series out there as well. So schedule works as a real good practice for drivers if they're racing in those other series as well. So a great chance for everyone to get out on track in some big fields with some quality drivers, see where you're actually at in regards to pace for this series. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to seeing how it plays out. Qualifying is nearly finished. Almost all the drivers have done their laps. A couple still yet to complete a couple of laps. But at the moment, it's Robbie Gibbs for Evolution Racing Team on top.
Yep, Robbie Gibbs was also the fastest driver in the open practice through the week before things got started for the first round. And Trent Gosley is in the session as well for Middle Finger Racing, driving with teammate Daniel Stevens. Really love the livery that MFR have gone for this one. Definitely very HRT-esque and a little bit of a difference on the liveries. Gosley, of course, running a kangaroo on the side of his car. Dan Stevens being a Kiwi, running a Kiwi. Fantastic job, as always, from the livery crew at MFR.
That is 4th lap complete there for Gosley, so he's got 1 more attempt. I remember we just saw before David Coleman was going slow. That's his 4th lap, so he's got 1 last chance to get a lap in with only 2.5 minutes left in qualifying. Stick with him here and see what this lap turns out to be.
Yeah, David Coleman, unfortunately, last night in the Shannon's NTE series missed out on fighting Blake Warboys for the championship because he joined the session in the wrong car. He's a Holden guy usually, accidentally joined in the Falcon. So he'll be hoping to make up for that with a good run at Silverstone. Across the line, David Coleman will come to begin this lap here at Silverstone, fast through the opening turns of Abbey and Farm, just about flat out, but you do need to lift to keep the weight on the fronts, and then braking hard for the Village hairpin. A little bit faster than it looks. Usually you would turn hard left at the loop there for the GP circuit, but you cut straight across into the exit of Chapel, and yeah, quite bumpy across that transition. He does seem to have gotten that down though, and now it's a little moment to rest down the Hangar Straight before you brake hard for the very quick Stowe corner. This will be one of the prime overtaking opportunities on the lap, and it's very difficult to get right. Got to make sure not to run too far out across the curbs there, otherwise you will get an off track, and then braking hard one more time for the Vale chicane. Got to keep an eye on those anti-cut curbs on the inside. They will spin you around if you hit them wrong, and then just a little lift through club to end off the lap. And that's going to be a 104.4
I didn't count.
David Coleman. Oh no, yeah, that's unfortunate. he did pick up an off-track somewhere along the line there. Well, either way, it looks like everyone has completed their laps here. We have a couple of minutes just to judge how things are going here for round one. At the moment, it does look like Gibbs is on the pace. It does seem, though, that Sebastian Flock, starting alongside him on the front row, also for Evolution Racing Team, is right with him. Only 0.05 of a second separating the teammates there. Sean McNamara is going to be starting in third place alongside Cameron Jones, and it looks like 9.5 Sim Sports has certainly turned out quite a bit for this one. Blake Warboys starting in fifth spot. Good to see that Warboys is continuing that momentum from winning the Shannon's NTE Series last night. Bo Albert, the privateer, is going to be starting alongside him. Then we got Bradley Vaughan sharing the next row with Pure Sims' Jake Blackhall, another name that we haven't seen in quite some time. And then we've got Bailey, Frid, and Lachlan Capel rounding out the top 10. So Evolution Racing Team bookending those top 10 positions.
Yeah, 5 ERT cars in the top 10, so great qualifying from them. We've got Matt Morris and Craig Schultz on row number 6. Row 7 will be Simon Chadwick and Simon Mazzomo, all 9.5 Sim Sports on that row. Next row is Ash Davis and Chris Miller. Go back to P17 for Zach Vlasbom, Trent Gosley in P18. P19 will be David Coleman, and P20, Jai Schultz.
Tim Nicol is going to be starting from the 21st grid position. He starts alongside Luke Crum. Then we've got Daniel Stevens starting alongside Christopher Tomlin. Those guys 23rd and 24th. Benjamin Siren and Rob Visser will share the second last row of the grid. And all on his lonesome in 27th and final spot is going to be Shane Newens. Was not able to get a lap time in that he was happy with. So we'll see if he can redeem that in this race coming up now. Drivers already filing onto the grid, and it is a Grand Prix style grid, so it is quite staggered here at Silverstone. It means that the drivers in the second row will have a little bit of extra ground to make up if they don't get a good start, but it's a nice wide circuit and plenty of runoff through Abbey and Farm, so we'll see if everyone gets through cleanly.
27 car field as well, so very, very strong start to the season, which is great. As we said before at the start, every race 14 laps or 20 minutes, so we've got a bit of time if we do need a manual safety car to still get through the race. If we do see 2 safety cars, we might go time certain finish. Fingers crossed we don't see any safety cars throughout the night, because that would mean that we've had great clean racing the whole way through. Get ready to get the green flag in just a couple of moments.
We do indeed. Just coming up to 10 seconds to go on the gridding time, and it will be Robert Gibbs with the advantage coming into the first corner. But it's a very open sequence of first turns here at Silverstone, so not many opportunities to make moves until you get to that first braking zone. The revs rise, and the AOG V8 Super Series is preparing to go, and it is go! We are away! Puffs of smoke all through the field. We already have a couple of drivers having issues in the midfield and a car around in the background. That's unfortunate there for Chris Miller. He has already got damage, but everyone else getting through the first turn mostly clean. And it seems, yeah, we only have that one stricken car for the time being. Good racing here for the fourth spot. Blake Warboys leading Cameron Jones, then Vaughan and Albert behind him. Lachlan Capel starting to gear up for a move here. He's already worked himself out versus Jake Blackhall. It's an excellent start for car number 8. Let's see what he can do. Blackhall already trying to make some moves here behind Albert, and he has a little bit of a look, but no dice for the time being.
Other than that issue at the start there, no other issues from what I could see, except for Simon Chadwick picked up a black flag, as has Simon Mazzomo. So I'm going to say both have jumped the start, yeah.
Now, that's a shame there for the 295 cars. Everyone else, though, clearing that first lap nicely. Robbie Gibbs currently in the lead by 0.6 of a second over Sebastian Flock, who's starting to go defensive versus Sean McNamara here. The leader of 9.5 Sim Sports doing very well here in the opening round. Qualified third, has remained third. Blake Warboys behind him has gained a spot, and Cameron Jones will be looking to try and get that fourth place back from him. Right now, though, looks like a race for second on back as Robbie Gibbs is starting to streak away.
Yeah, Gibbs is starting to pull a fairly decent margin. Not quite enough to break the draft yet. I'll tell you what, Cameron Jones is looking strong here too. He's given up a spot to Blake Warboys at the start, but he's starting to apply the pressure back to maybe steal that spot back. So they both look very, very good in their fluoro-green highlights on both their cars, but very, very different looks of their cars as well. Both looking like they're handling quite well, though.
Yeah, indeed. It's quite a good setup, I think, that they've got on. As Gibbs goes fastest lap, he's running a bit 5/10 slower than his qualifying pace at the moment, which is what you'd expect, but he seems to have it all sorted out here at the front of the field. Now, we have to see whether or not these drivers are going to start making big moves. Unfortunately, we received news that Trent Gosley has retired from the race, and it seems this is why. Oh,
That's
no.
a tech issue and a half, isn't it?
Yeah, that is massive there for Trent Gosley, and a real shame. So his round one is already over. Plenty of space between those cars. And have a look at that. Looks like McNamara has gotten by Flock for second at Stowe. Great exit from Chapel, and got it done down the straight. Nice job.
Beautiful move in the end there from McNamara to get that done. The only issue that they've got with that move happening is you can see the gap now that Robbie Gibbs is starting to pull away. Flock has now given up a bit of a margin back to Blake Warboys, who is now in the draft train. It's trained for second now. It goes all the way back to ninth position.
Yeah, and a nice three-car battle happening between Vaughan, Albert, and Capel. Have a look at this. Here comes Albert. He's going to go up the inside at Village. And it looks like Capel's going to try and follow him through. Vaughan very wide, and it looks like he might be given half a chance to Jake Blackhall as well, who we ride on board with coming into Chapel. It's all about the exit here. You can run across that curb on the exit and not get an off track, but you've got to be careful not to run too far beyond those limits, otherwise you will get a slowdown penalty. Well, Pure Sims Esports doing well at the moment. Jake Blackhall, the one car representing that team. And have a look at this. ERT car up the inside at Stowe. That's Bailey Frid on Matt Morris. Take it easy. Morris takes to the runoff area. He's going to maintain the momentum here. And David Coleman, looking for a way through as well, tries up the inside of Bailey Frid, but can't get it done.
Thought for a minute about backing off completely, and then he's like, hang on, I better not do that. It could be an opportunity for a pass, and then threw it back up there a bit more, but not being able to get through. It's a tight little battle here. I've just gone back. We're going to replay in just a second to see the jump start from Mazomo and the issue also. Oh no, contact! Bailey Frid, he holds on, but Coleman gives up the spot to Schultz.
Yes, that was a little bit messy there through Village, but it looks like Schultz taking great advantage here, and that's 2 spots gained for him. Tighter exit out of Chapel, but he might just be able to maintain this into Stowe. The inside line is where you want to be for that corner. Now Coleman backs off a little bit. He's going to give these guys a bit of room to fight each other and judge how he's going to approach this. Frid is so late there into Stowe. He's actually maintained the momentum around the outside. That gives him the inside for the next corner. Will he get this position back on Schultz? Looks like he will. Schultz has to give room to Coleman on the inside as well, but they all make their way through cleanly.
In the background too, the other Schultz in the field's felt differently. Jai Schultz gets past Tim Nichols, so changes of position all the way around. Brad Vaughan has dropped from that group of Capel and Blackhall as well, and now has, of Capel and Albert, now has Jake Blackhall for a lot of company. Quickly going to get this replay up, Grace, because this is the black flag for Mazomo. You'll see him green car in the middle. There's the jump start. So that's the first issue. From there, right behind him, the purple car. That is the car of Chris Miller, which is turned at the start. That starts from Mazomo stalling it after he jumped the start.
Yeah, that's a shame there. It looked like Gosley was the one who made the contact there, unfortunately. but that's all just a case of things going wrong on the grid. We can't blame Gosley for that. Just a very difficult situation.
They were both trying to avoid Mazzomo there when he'd stalled the car, so just unfortunate.
Yeah, of course. Well, first few race control decisions have come through now. It looks like we've had a whole bunch of no further action for cars 4 and 30. Car 4 being Trent Gosley, car 30 being Luke Crum. That was on lap 2. Of course, that was judged as netcode. No further action as well for the 777 and the 4 on lap 1, and that was Chris Miller and Trent Gosley once again. Just difficult situations coming through the field at the moment. But we're right on board with Dan Stevens down in 14th.
You've seen his
spot.
heart rate this high before.
Yeah, this is really revving it up here for Dan Stevens, isn't it? He's got problems with Craig Schultz now looking to make his way forward, and Schultz, well, he was battling with Fred and Coleman before, but he's fallen back behind them. He does make the move on Stevens, but the over-under could be on for the number 3. Not quite. Didn't get the momentum out of the corner. That straighter exit meant that a little bit less wheel spin for Craig Schultz means he keeps that position.
Nice move there. That done, and just said that tiny little bit of wheel spin was just enough, wasn't it? Doesn't take much to lose ground at this track. Such a short lap. We're already halfway through race 1 of the night too, so remember this is a 3-race format, all 14 laps or 20 minutes, so it's going to be very, very quick racing, and you can see now Jai Schultz just behind, almost close enough to get a move, and
Indeed. Well, let's see what Jai will be able to do. Nice exit coming out of the corner. And he is within slipstream range, but not quite close enough to put a move on as things stand. He's going to have to wait for potentially a bit more battling between Stevens and Schultz, but Stevens locks up a little coming into Stowe, and that loses him a slight bit of pace. Man, they are fighting so hard on the exit of that corner, aren't they? Another look by Stevens. He's moving around in the mirrors of Craig Schultz, trying to give him a little bit of a psych out. Doesn't seem to be working so far, though.
Position, Cam Jones has just made his way past Blake Warboys. This is for 4th position, and I don't think he was thinking he was going to get that done. That's a huge dive, a huge lockup, but he somehow pulled the car up.
Yeah, well, that's very well done there. And well done to Blake Warboys as well for having the presence of mind to not crowd him too much on the way into the corner. He can fight back, though. Those guys are back into their qualifying positions, but Warboys, well, we know how good of a racer he is.
Winning the NT E-Series last night. Finished 2nd in that season last year, so yeah, absolute domination in that series as well. Won 6 from 6 in that series and never ever looked like he'd be challenged the whole way through. Even when he made errors in the pits, he still was quick enough to come on through. So great to see him out here tonight with a very, very competitive field. Still being quite competitive as well himself. Currently 5th. Still trying to hold off the charging Albert, Capel, Vaughan and Blackhall battle behind.
Yeah, speaking of that battle, look at how close they are. Vaughan is all over the back of Capel right now. Here they are now, coming out of Chapel. Let's see who gets the better exit. It all seems relatively even, and Blackhall is keeping himself in this fight. We can't count out Matt Morris either. He's trailing off the back of that pack in the purple car that just went off the screen, but hey, anything can happen in a V8 race. We know that from well over 10 years of experience broadcasting series with these cars. Brad Vaughan a little bit crossed up on the way into the Vale chicane, and now Blackhall's having a look at him. Will he be able to make a move into Village this time around? Has to nail those first 2 turns. Let's see what it's like on board here with the number 97 across the curb. Monster the curb on the inside. That was lovely and smooth, wasn't it? And it looks like he's gearing up here. A little bit more throttle gives you the inside line, and then he's at the rear quarter. Not quite close enough though.
It was beautiful work through turn 1 just to use that slightly alternate line and get the momentum through the corner. Force a small error from Vaughan. He wasn't quite able to capitalise on it, but Vaughan will be starting to get a little nervous about that. He knows now that, hey, you've got a lot of pace, you've got some great momentum. You can get that done, bring them all together. And I tell you what, Matt Morris is looking good because he's right there now, and there's another error from Vaughan.
Oh, he went very wide and Stowe, didn't he? That brings Blackhall alongside, but defence will be on here for the number 5. Into the Vale chicane they come, and, well, there we go. Position protected. But he could have done without that slight error at Stowe. They have completely lost touch with Lachlan Capel now.
Yeah, they're well and truly back now. They're nowhere near Capel. Well and truly lost the draft. Now, one thing I've noticed too, last lap by Sean McNamara lost a second to Sebastian Flock. He pulled a fair margin, but he's let him back in the now draft frame. So there's been some sort of issue. It's like Blackhall's had an issue as well. There's been an issue for McNamara and an issue for Blackhall. So issues starting to happen throughout the field.
All right, we'll have to go back and check out what went on there. Looking at McNamara, it just seems to me like, oh yeah, I've seen what happened to McNamara on lap 11. Well, we'll see what happened to Blackhall first. Coming through into Village, just locked up, ran wide, caught the grass potentially, and that is a lot of time lost in a sprint race. For McNamara, yeah, lap 11 coming into that very same corner. He lost the rear and had a big slide through the corner. Meanwhile, on the live pictures, we see here Dan Stevens. Well, he just made up that position. Oh, wow, okay. 4 cars on the same bit of racetrack. We've got the teammates of Jai Schultz and Luke Crum right in the midst of this as well. Seems to me like, yeah, Schultz losing that position to Stevens, and then that has brought these two teammates right into it, inside line, into the first corner. It's not usually a place you see passes, but Jai Schultz managed to do it on Stevens, and here comes Schultz, Craig Schultz, once again on Stevens, who runs wide through Village, hooks up the power on the exit though, and protects the inside, but Craig is still there, has to get on the brakes early, and round the outside's going to go Luke Crum. Look who they brought into this as well, the 9-5 pair of Simon Chadwick and Ash Davis.
Well, Simon Chadwick's a lap down. Remember, he had black flag at the start of the race, but
true.
Ash Davis is for position as well, so Chadwick might be there just to try and help and get his teammate in Ben Siren up further, but front of the field last lap has started. McNamara is clear, but Flock is now closing. Sorry, Gibbs is clear, but McNamara and Flock, that's closed down very, very quickly.
It definitely has. We'll see if there's a change for position. Stevens, meanwhile, has lost places to Luke Crum, and oh no, that's contact there. The lap down car of Simon Chadwick getting into Daniel Stevens. Got to take care with that. That has made Stevens lose touch with the Mustang pair up ahead of Crum and Craig Schultz. Jai Schultz, meanwhile, absolutely driving away from them. Speaking of driving away, well, Robbie Gibbs didn't have to worry about anything from the moment the green flag dropped. His pace has been supreme and his race has been clean. Here comes through the final 3 corners now. 2 to go and then 1 to go. And Robbie Gibbs is going to be the first ever race winner in the Aussie Online Gaming V8 Super Series. Sean McNamara looks like he's just going to protect himself from Sebastian Flock at the line. That's your top 3.
A great fight they had the whole way. We'll go back to this battle that we were watching before because these positions still have not been settled and they won't be until the line. You've got Davis, Stevens, Siren all together, and Tim Nichols closing in quickly too. Stevens going to have to struggle to hold on here.
Will he get the power down? It looks like he'll just manage to do that. Benjamin Siren all over the back of him, but there's the start-finish line, and that is going to be the end of it. Nearly 150 BPM
it hit 150
on the heart
just
monitor.
Before I got it up. It was 151. I've never seen it that high. He's got a big workout. He'll be happy that was only a 15-minute race.
Yeah, that was intense. I'm really happy with that opening stanza of this event. Yeah, we got 2 more to go. what on earth are the next two races going to bring? Let's go through the results of race 1. Robbie Gibbs by 2.8 seconds over Sean McNamara. Sebastian Flock could not get second back at the end. Cameron Jones and Blake Warboys will round out the top 5. Good driving from them. Bo Albert will come across the line where he started in 6th. Brad Vaughan, unfortunately, losing a spot and getting into 8th place behind Lachlan Capel. Morris and Blackhall round out the top 10.
From there we go back to Zach Vlasbaum and Bailey Frid with David Coleman only just behind in 13th position. Josh Schultz in 14th with Craig Schultz 15th. And we've got Luke Crum, Ash Davis, Dan Stevens, Ben Siren and Tim Nicol. What a fight that was at the end. And I tell you what, they're going to start all together again. So we could see a mirror image and see it all again in this race as we get into race 2 in just a moment.
Indeed. Tomlin gaining 3 spots. Good to see. Rob Visser also coming across the line to gain 4 places, and it's 3 spots gained for Shane Newens. Unfortunate for Simon Mazzomo and Simon Chadwick. They were unable to get a good finish after jumping at the start, and then Trent Gosley, of course, with that contact out of race 1. He seems to have rejoined the server, though, for race 2, and we have to feel for Chris Miller in the 777 as well. That was certainly not a way to start off a season, getting spun around, coming off the starting grid. Well,
heard from sorry to cut you off there. Heard from Simon Mazzomo sort of the reasoning around his issues. We got the handbrake, launched it when he put his foot down, and then as he's gone, oh no, I've missed the start and made an error. Pushed the handbrake in, installed the car, couldn't start it in time. That's just unfortunate, but guess we'll know now that he will have the handbrake on and be ready for this one.
Yes, let's see if he can make a recovery. Lost 10 places in race 1 thanks to that unfortunate issue on the grid. Let's see if he can work his way back up to 14th, where his qualifying pace put him. Well, the field is starting to file onto the grid now, and Gibbs taking up the top spot once again. Have to think. Lachlan Capel gaining 3 spots in race 1. Could he be a threat for that top 6? I mean, they all finished pretty much where they started in that top 6. And we'll see if there's going to be some jostling for position from there.
I think the front of the field really were just feeling each other out, trying to get a bit of a feel for the racing and that. And I think race 2 will see a little bit more aggression. And by the time we get into race 3, it'll be all out, elbows out, all out war. So, I think we're going to see a bit more intensity in this one further up the front. We don't need to increase the intensity at the back. It's already very, very...
Yeah, for sure. Well, seconds ticking down. We're about to hear the revs rise once more and get ready for the standing start of race 2. Hopefully everyone's gotten their handbrakes sorted out and they can get a good, clean start. Here we go then. A symphony of V8s once again over Northamptonshire. And we are away. Not a good start from Sean McNamara. He's going to be under threat here. Cameron Jones trying to get around him, and Blake Warboys takes advantage. Gets around Cameron Jones and up into 3rd spot. Sebastian Flock not having a good start either. He has fallen way back now. He's down in 8th spot as everyone goes wide. That was Vaughan going off the circuit there at the exit of the hairpin. He rejoins and almost gets into Bailey Fred. Up the inside goes Zach Vlasblom and nearly makes contact with Vaughan.
There was no contact in the end, but it was so close with so many drivers. Luke Crum and Jake Blackhall almost made contact. Horrible start from Blackhall as well. He's dropped back to 15th position, but Sebastian Flock, horrible start from him too.
Looks like Tim Nichols picked up a slowdown. He has gone all the way to the back of the field as they stream through Stowe for the first time. And have a look at this fight. This is magnificent. Bo Albert and Blake Warboys plus Cameron Jones up at the front of this pack. And Vaughan, looks like a little bit of contact being made there with Bailey Fred. He has allowed Coleman past him now. And we see 2 drivers going into the pit lane. Rob Visser and Tim Nicol. Looks like they picked up black flags on lap 1.
Yep, and McNamara still has a slowdown penalty. He hasn't cleared from the final corner. He's now heavily on the brakes to clear that. That's cost him, what's that, 5, 6 spots. He was in second, now back to 8th.
Have a look at this side by side here. Dan Stevens trying to... No, sorry, that's Sean McNamara trying to preserve a couple of extra places from what has not been a good start to the second lap here. Matt Morris, meanwhile, behind side by side with Bailey Frid. Inside into Stowe could work for him here, but we've seen Frid hold the outside line well before. Unfortunately, looks like the car got away from him in the middle of the corner. Has to let Matt Morris go. My goodness, there's so much going on out here. Fantastic fight happening for this second spot. I'm interested to see exactly what happened to McNamara.
Yeah, there is a couple of spots you can get a slowdown penalty. One of them is, just seeing Simon Mazzomo around at the last complex of corners. At turn 5, you can get a slowdown if you do run too aggressive and too wide too early. Rejoin the Formula 1, the Grand Prix layout. But yeah, at the final corner, I'm not 100% sure as to why. Tim Nichols got another slowdown penalty, but yeah, I'm guessing it's at the final corner, but seen it?
It's actually at the exit of Stowe, I think. McNamara went way beyond the exit curb. So we'll see how that turns out for him at a major disadvantage here in the second race. But we keep an eye on Blake Warboys here, who could be looking at a second place finish if Cameron Jones has an issue. And if Warboys can try and catch up to him, the pressure from behind will start mounting as well. We got Bo Albert, who's looking to try and get onto the podium. Sebastian Flock trying to recover from a third place start that didn't work out for him. And Lachlan Cable still making advances through the field here. Up to 6th spot now, and he's steadily improving from his qualifying place.
Yeah, there's a lot of movement in the field, isn't there? I mean, you go back in the field a bit more. Simon Chadwick up a few spots. Trent Gosley's rejoined after his issues in race 1, and he's starting to gain some spots. So a few movers and shakers throughout the field. Side by side here is Jake Blackall. May lose another spot here. I tell you what, it gets very, very close when you come side by side through there.
Yeah, they might have just rubbed door handles and wing mirrors with Craig Schultz there, but they got out of the corner cleanly, which is good to see. Schultz now in the slipstream on the way down to Stowe. Not close enough to pull a move in the braking zone, but trying to take advantage of that little bit of fighting is Luke Crum. You'll see him pop up in the background there. He's trying his best to work his way even further forward.
This was Mazzomo, he and Trent Gosley, side by side, just both ending up. You know what, Shane Ewens was lucky to not get taken out by that too.
Yeah, almost a 3-car incident. Shame to see that, but they've managed to continue on, which is good to see. Trent Gosley is getting a baptism of fire in his first V8 race in a while. David Coleman, meanwhile, having a look at the Alpha Venturi car of Zach Vlasblom, all over the curb, coming through turn 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and actually getting a good exit from that. He didn't pick up a slowdown, did Zach? So now Coleman needs to find another place to gain an advantage. Tips it towards the inside of Stowe, rides the curb very nicely. We've got a redress order from Race Control, meanwhile. That's car 4, Trent Gosley.
With Mazzomo.
Yeah, 954 Simon Mazzomo failing to leave racing room.
Okay with that call. It did look like he was squeezed midway through the corner there, but obviously Race Control would have had a lot better look than we did. That one glance at it, so just loaded up wrong zoom.
Yeah, we are on board with...
Hello, Jai Schultz. Well, we're on board with Blake Warboys.
Yes, he's gotten closer to Cameron Jones, hasn't he? Really dialing up the pressure.
Now that little, sorry to cut you off again, Reese, that little exit there, if you run too wide at that exit, that is where you can get a huge slowdown penalty. So drivers got to be very, very careful running wide through that turn 5 exit.
Yeah, it looks like the majority of them have worked it out from there. But of course, it can catch anyone out. especially if you're side by side with someone on the exit. That's why we've seen drivers leave so much room on the exit of turn 5. They don't want to be responsible for another driver picking up a slowdown. Meanwhile, Matt Morris and David Coleman battling hard through the final couple of corners.
Rest is happening right now.
Yep, there we go. Trent Gosley back behind Simon Mazzomo, and now the battle can resume between these guys, but they are fighting way down the field. They're actually the last 2 cars on the lead lap at the moment.
Doesn't mean that they're not going to fight like it's the World Championship back there. Always seems to be the case at the lower positions down you are, the more aggressive you seem to fight.
Yeah, absolutely.
Some great battles within the top 10, isn't there? So Cameron Jones back. So this battle now goes all the way back to McNamara in 8th, and then Vlasbom, Morris, and David Coleman that we saw before. They've both caught, despite the battling, Morris and Coleman have caught up to Vlasbom ahead. So there's a fair bit going on behind these guys as well. Lots of action out on track.
Which is exactly what we like to see, and what we were certainly hoping for from this series. There has been an exchange of position between the Schultzes. Craig has gotten ahead of Jai. That was a position change for 14th place, and Jai trying his best to fight that, but it seems to me that it's worked out in Craig's favour, and now Jai is back with his teammate Luke Crum. They will have a double-pronged attack, try and work their way past. And if they battle hard like they seem to be doing, could give an advantage to Daniel Stevens, who's fallen off the back of them a little bit, but steadily moving forward. Meanwhile, here is car 5 Bradley Vaughan chasing down Sean McNamara, who's still trying to recover from that slowdown earlier. McNamara actually getting past Vaughan there with a brilliant move up the inside at Village. That was beautifully done, nice and clean.
Yeah, that's the move that we saw attempted earlier by Jake Blackwell on Bradley Vaughan, but not quite able to get it done. So Luke Crum's now just also got past Craig Schultz, so the car of Craig Schultz losing more ground is passed by both TR Esports cars. Now has Dan Stevens closing in quickly.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking about before. Stevens taking advantage of that 3-car battle. They were all costing each other time there. I'll tell you what, the battle for second could start heating up soon as well. Actually, it looks like Matt Morris and Zach Vlasblom here. Oh, David Coleman's right with them as well. Look at him go here. Bailey Frid and Jake Blackhall are going to get into this as well. Oh, 2 cars side by side on the exit of turn 5. Contact between Coleman and Frid. And Blackhall says, thank you very much, guys. I'm going to try and put myself in position for Stowe here. Morris on the inside of Vlasblom ahead. Vlasblom, though, lunging it into Stowe. He's going to maintain that outside line ahead of these guys. Has to give room, does David Coleman. Looks like Frid's managed to escape that for the time being, but Coleman closing up in the braking zone. No, just manages to stay out of the rear bumper. Morris, though, getting into Vlasblom. Slight bit of instability there. And trying up the inside is Frid. This is a great battle we're seeing here. Frid protecting the inside of turn 1 from David Coleman. And just making it ahead in time.
He's got to be careful here because the momentum is going to be all with Jake Blackhall, but wow, that was some very, very good driving from Bailey Frid to hold that position. He had no right to hold on to that spot. Somehow still comes out. There's big dive bomb there from David Coleman, but this could hurt his momentum on the exit. Blackhall again will have the run.
Yeah, he was offline coming into that's one of the turns around this place that you need to have that nice wide entry. It comes onto the longest straight of the circuit, but Blackhall didn't have the straight line speed to take advantage. Coleman is absolutely monstering those brakes. Don't run too wide though. You could get a slowdown on the exit of Stowe if you run far wide enough.
We've seen that already, so be careful there. You've got to be careful to not cut that curb just there as well. Turn 8. Turn 9, very, very short lap here. 4 laps to go in race number 2. And we've seen more action in 2 14-lap races tonight than we have in most races you see real or virtual.
Yeah, oh, that's a big slide from Morris. He's actually given the advantage to Vlasblom on the inside there at Village. And here comes Bailey Frid. Oh, just a little bit of oversteer there. Frid now all up in the business of Matt Morris. Outside line for turn 5, though. Slightly better exit onto the hangar straight. He's just going to get ahead on the exit. Craig Schultz, meanwhile, is losing spots. Something's happened to him. Slow down, potentially.
He's just,
no.
I think he's spun the car, so he's lost a bit of ground. We also saw McNamara get through on Lachlan Capel, who now has Bradley Vaughan just behind, and here comes this battle group again.
Yeah, wow, this is amazing. Matt Morris trying to get up the inside of Zach Vlasblom. What can he do? There's going to only be 2 laps to go for these guys. Fantastic battling going on. And, oh yeah, it actually looks like Craig Schultz did go off the circuit. It was on the exit of the Village hairpin. He just got crossed up over the rise.
Oh, Morris.
Just avoided the barriers. Oh, take it easy, Matt. Here comes Frid once again. Blackhole getting past Coleman finally at the back of this pack. Will he be able to maintain it, though? Inside line for turn 5. Yep, there we go. That's the move done for Jake Blackhall. And Coleman just holding on to it. This is magnificent. Remember, these guys are fighting for 9th. This is the battle for 9th place. And they are all involved in it. Beautiful stuff. You'd think they were fighting for the win at this point.
Well, you feel like the win, whoever finishes first in this group, won't it? Oh,
Oh,
Bailey
Frid! Oh, Vlasblom as well. Spins around and goes straight to the back of the pack.
Wow. Big,
Oh, easy does it. Matt Morris.
Oh, they've all made it through. They've all made it through. What an error for Frid that he made and capitalised on. Vlasblom made an error, lost out big time. And I'll tell you what, this battle that we said was 5 cars is now 7. Make it 8 cars because you've got Schultz, Crum and Stevens in now too.
Oh, how on earth is this going to turn out with only 1.5 laps to go for these guys? Tell you what, that was all triggered actually by contact between Matt Morris and Zach Vlasblom coming into that chicane. Vlasblom was moving to the right and Morris decided to stick his nose in on the outside line. And so there was an ever so slight bit of contact that triggered all of that melee. So Coleman now trying on Morris here. Again, it seems Coleman is later on the brakes than just about anyone in this pack. And now Frid and Blackhall starting to jet away from these guys. So here's what triggered it. Yeah.
Contact, not much, but enough. Doesn't take much in these cars when they're so heavily loaded, does it?
No, certainly not. But good on Jake Blackhall and Bailey Frid to take advantage of all of that. Just thread the needle through the potential disaster. Here is Bo Albert, meanwhile. He's got Sebastian Flock for very close company. Flock has managed to get a couple of places back over the course of this race. Problem for Coleman. He's gone off in the runoff area and ends up doing donuts, interestingly. The race is still going, but not for much longer, because Robbie Gibbs is going to make it 2 from 2 so far here at Silverstone. Just kept it clean, had no pressure from behind, and it is victory once more. Oh, car stopped on the front stretch. Who's that?
Trent Gosling lost it out of the final corner and hit the inside wall and blown the engine, so he won't finish the race, unfortunately.
That's a shame there for Trent Gosling. A very awful place to have that happen as well.
Race control could intervene here in this incident for David Coleman as well.
Yeah, I can see that. Big contact from behind by Zach Vlasblom, and that sent Coleman right off the circuit. And I get the feeling that that donut he did was a little bit of...
bit of anger as opposed to anything else, wasn't it?
Shaking his fist at the heavens and raging to the sky. And you wouldn't blame him for that. That's an awful way to be taken out of a position. Right then, we can catch our breath one more time. because Robbie Gibbs taking the win by 3 seconds this time over Cam Jones and Blake Warboys. Great performance from those drivers, with Bo Albert and Sebastian Flock completing the top 5. McNamara finishes 6th, but it could have been a top 3 for him. We'll see what he can do in race 3. Lachlan Capel finishing 7th once again, and Brad Vaughan getting into 8th spot once more. Bailey Frid, he started 9th and finished 12th in race 1, starts 12th and finishes 9th in race 2. And Jake Blackhall gets into the top 10 once more.
Before we flick the page, out of that page there, 7 of the 10 drivers drive for ERT or have previously driven for Evolution. You want to get involved in a team that gets you up towards the pointy end. That might be the one to try and get yourself into. Matt Morris in 11th, Zach Flassbaum in 12th, Jai Schultz, Luke Crum, Dan Stevens rounding out the top 15. We go back to Simon Chadwick, Chris Miller, Ash Davis, Ben Siren, and Craig Schultz rounding out the top 20.
Christopher Tomlin finishes 21st once again. Simon Mazzomo gaining 2 spots, with Shane Newens once again getting into 23rd. David Coleman, last car to finish on the lead lap. A real shame for him after that unfortunate contact with Zach Vlasblom. Gosley, Visser, and Nickel all a lap down, with Gosley suffering terminal damage right at the end of the race. All right. 5-minute warm-up is in effect, and that will give us an opportunity to step aside briefly on SimSpeed TV. When we come back, we're going to come to the final race of the night. One more 14-lap belter at Silverstone.
Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head-to-head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
World of Outlaws Dirt Racing is available now. Download your copy today.
You're watching SimSpeed TV, round 1 of the Aussie Online Gaming V8 Super Series. Here at Silverstone, we have seen ridiculous action over the course of the last 28 laps of racing spread over 2 races. But, of course, we do have one more race coming up here. Reese Gardner and Jay Kennedy with you in the comms box, and this is a reminder of what we've got. So far, we have not seen the manual safety car make an appearance. Despite a few incidents in both races, we haven't had a need for a safety car yet.
Thankfully, I haven't seen the safety car, but usually when we say that, it means that we've got the potential for everything to develop into safety cars. We've seen a little bit of heat starting to seep through in some of the drivers in the midfield as well, so there's every chance that we might see a little bit of action in there as well. Yeah, it's going to be very, very action-packed. And I'll tell you what, the schedule looks action-packed too. Reece, have a look at where we are the next round.
Oh yeah, that is a classic V8 track on iRacing. The cup layout of Watkins Glen. Slipstream is going to be key there, even more so than it is here in virtual Northamptonshire. And I think Red Bull Ring is going to have a good emphasis on Slipstream as well. Imola too has a long front stretch where there will be a lot of drafting. Belle Isle, Oschersleben and Zolder though, going to be a little bit different. That's going to be more dependent, I think, on drivers' ability to overtake and mechanical grip as well. But that's the schedule. Mark it into your calendars, because if tonight's anything to go by, this is going to be one heck of a season. We are into race 3 now, and we can go through the grid for this one. Robbie Gibbs, he's won both races so far. He will start on pole position alongside Cameron Jones. Behind him, Blake Warboys and Bo Albert will take up the second row. Then it's Sebastian Flock and Sean McNamara. Lachlan Capel is going to start alongside Bradley Vaughan for 7th and 8th, and the 5th row of the grid will be Bailey Frid and Jake Blackhall.
Yeah, from there we go back to Matt Morris and Zach Vlasbom. Then we go back to Jai Schultz and Luke Crum on row 7, Dan Stevens and Simon Chadwick on row number 8. Row 9, I must say, how good is this from Chris Miller? He's got himself back up to 17th. Remember, he was facing the wrong direction. Race 1 with Ash Davis alongside him, Ben Siren and Craig Schultz next in 19th.
Car 212 starts position 2-1 alongside Simon Mazzomo for Chris Tomlin. Then we have Shane Newen starting alongside David Coleman, who'll be looking for a good result after unfortunately being taken out of the running in race 2. Trent Gosley, well, he has had an absolute shocker of a night so far. Hopefully he gets to the finish this time, starting alongside Rob Visser. And then Tim Nicol is the final car on the grid. Of course, we do have race control. Dan Yeaman and Tom Wilkinson standing by in their McLaren 570 SGT4s in case the safety car needs to be brought out. And also working away in the race control office as well for any incidents that arise out on the circuit. Just a few seconds to go now. We'll see if anyone can overcome Robert Gibbs here at round 1. It's pretty much been a case of Gibbs just putting the power down and not looking in his mirrors once as all the carnage happens behind him. Will it be the same this? Let's go. Ready for race 3 here at Silverstone for round 1 of the AOG V8 Super Series. We are away, and that is a great start once again from Gibbs. Not so much from Jones, though. Already losing spots to Warboys and Albert on the way down to turn 1, and Flock trying round the outside. The two Mustangs for 2nd and 3rd trying to sort themselves out here. Albert sees the gap, and he goes up the inside of Warboys into Village. They are 2 by 2 for the rest of the positions in the top 10. Albert secures 2nd place. Excellent start there from the privateer, but they are all in a crush behind them. We look back at Sean McNamara. He's got Brad Vaughan and Lachlan Capel for company, as well as Bailey Frid, as they go onto the hangar straight for the first time. But it looks like everyone's got through the first lap cleanly so far, Jay.
Simon Mazzomo did stall it at the start, but he's able to get the car away and hasn't lost too much ground from the field. But he's going to be working on those starts before the next round. But you're right, we've made it through relatively clean. A little bit of side-by-side at the back of the field, but everyone else single file for now. I think they're just trying to get this first lap under the books. I take that back. Jai Schultz and Matt Morris go straight back at it as they were before.
Oh, brilliant racing there. Well, looks to me like Jai Schultz and Luke Crum, the teammates, are keeping each other very good company here. Matt Morris, though, has a sizable gap ahead of him to Jake Blackhall. So he'll have to start hitting his marks and getting some momentum going, hopefully. Oh, Blackhall. Oh, that was a bit of a late move on Zach Vlasblom. I think either missing the braking point for Blackhall or not anticipating where Vlasblom would brake. Oh dear, that's problems for Vaughan. And it looks like he actually lost that all by himself. Caught the grass on the outside of turn 5, and now he is in trouble. Down now to 11th place, as that looks like a big problem for the 954. That is Simon Mazzomo.
It's Ben Siren actually back there.
Oh no, Ben Siren, my apologies. Misreading the numbers there, 959. Looks like the 9.5 cars have had a bit of a patchy night so far. A few of them having absolutely terrible luck. Meanwhile, Here is Matt Morris on the back of Brad Vaughan, who's trying to recover from that incident for him at turn 5. Robbie Gibbs, though, immediately on the charge here. He leads by 1.5 seconds over Bo Albert, and look at the pack for second. I mean, it goes all the way back to these guys we're looking at right now, but it seems like, oh, hello. Here comes the 957, trying his best here, and gets it done on Luke Crum. Simon Chadwick making moves up through the field. Remember, he was one of the drivers suffering issues tonight.
Ash Davis just had a huge slide out of turn 5 there. He's going to give up the spot to his teammate and Craig Schultz there, but yeah, almost had the run there on Chris Miller, and then all of a sudden a huge slide. He then loses so much ground. We're going to have to go back to the front though, because I tell you what, it's on for second. Oh, Albert's starting to check this field up a little.
Yeah, looking like it. Once they've gotten up to speed, it seems the pace advantage has been with Warboys and Jones. Albert just executing the start beautifully there, but now that they are up to speed, suffering a few issues here, and it is a proper 5-car fight for second place. Albert, Warboys, Jones, Flock, and McNamara all behind, and McNamara trying on Flock, side by side between Jones and Warboys. They make contact through the hairpin. Gently does it, everybody. Still sticking it up the inside is Jones, and there's a problem there for Flock. Wide through turn 5, all the way to the back of the pack. And that's going to make things even worse for him. Oh dear, that's a bit close there between Warboys and Jones. Here they come into Stowe. And look who's taking advantage of this. It's Sean McNamara in the car 951. Warboys up the inside now for the Vale chicane. Seems like Jones is going to try and maintain this side by side as much as possible. Warboys obviously right on it here. And look at the exit he gets from the final corner. Uses a bit of the runoff area for good measure and stays ahead. And Jones just slots in behind. Big bump there. That's big. Warboys just gathers it up on the exit. Jones could turn this into a move at Village, but no, he's not going to go for it. Or is he? He's trying his best to hook it up. And they just give each other a slight little tap again. They backed each other up here into the 3 ERT cars behind of Capel, Frid and Flock.
Oh well, but we thought he was going to get past because he was holding the field up. Well, he's just checked out now. He doesn't even have to worry about these guys drafting behind him. So this is getting very, very heated. And I tell you what, I just saw, just off side of my screen here, I can see the Zoom feed there of Blake Warboys the whole time. He is getting angry with what's going on. There's black all around.
Yep, contact with Lasblom and Stowe.
Now,
he was trying to make his way. Oh my god. Alright, we won't have time for a replay just yet. This is fantastic. I'm loving this. I was a bit of a late shoe-in for the lead commentary slot on this series. We only worked it out today, but I don't regret it at all. This is fantastic stuff.
I'm not going to be upset that I'm going to be watching and sitting here for the entirety of the season. I'll be glad to not be commentating, because I think it will be great to have people that can focus more on the comms. This is so good to watch. It's Coleman and Schultz there. How did they not make contact? And now here comes Mizomo, Stevens and Blackwell. He's going to have a bit of a anger in the eyes and try and make his way back past these guys.
Yeah, indeed. He's going to have to try and judge these moves, though. There's Daniel Stevens flashes the headlights. Moving a bit further up. Blake Warboys versus Cameron Jones once again. These guys have not been able to leave each other alone all race. Once again, side-by-side contact. Jones up the inside, coming out of Vale and into Club. Will he be able to make it stick this time? No, he won't. Warboys with the wider line keeps the car straighter, and it's going to be more of an exit there for him. But Jones gets a bump from McNamara and then bumps Warboys. And he is through now into third.
Wowee, there's some controversy in this race. We said that the third of the 3 races would be the most heated, most aggressive, and most entertaining. And we weren't wrong, but I don't think we were expecting it to be this heated. We're going to get a quick replay. This is what happened to Blackwell and how he ended up facing the wrong direction.
Yeah, he tried to make a pass there on Vaughan and was just way too late into Stowe. Went straight into Blasblom, but he kind of self-penalised himself with that one. He is still running, but
He's just got
quite
a
a bit
license
down the
point penalty
field.
from race control for that incident. Oh,
Yeah, well, that's a bit of a cloud hanging over Jake Blackhall's head. But as long as he keeps it clean, he'll be able to avoid further trouble from race control. This pack is showing no signs of calming down. There's been so much battling going on here, and I think that's basically been the definition of the night so far. If you can get to the front of a pack and then have everyone battle behind you, you just cost each other so much time at this circuit if you're side by side.
yeah. Well, I mean, Bo Albert's got 3 seconds clear, doing nothing. He doesn't have more pace than these guys. He's just been able to drive without having someone beside him. And if Warboys and McNamara here don't sort themselves out, they're going to let Cameron Jones check out at the front. Have a look at that. Just that little side by side's giving him a second.
That is, wow, that is amazing. You know, you wouldn't think that would happen.
Oh,
Oh no! David Coleman! And Simon Mazzomo as well. Blackhall's involved too.
And Chris
And
Tomlin.
Chris Tomlin. Now, what on earth has gone on here? That is a real melee. Tomlin, I think, just drove into this incident.
Zomo's picked up a mechanical black flag, I can tell you that.
Looks like David Coleman was putting a move on Chris Miller and unfortunately lost the rear all by himself. You'll see it here. Here comes the move, and then there goes the rear end. Tries to recover it, but overcorrects as Blackhall tries to find a way through, and Mazzomo and Stevens get into it as well.
Stevens into the pits, Coleman into the pits, Blackhall coming in as well, Mazzomo's coming in, he's got a mechanical black flag, so a little bit of damage. I was going to try and get to a replay from earlier. Remember the very, very first incident we saw race control intervene with was between Trent Gosley and Simon Mazzomo. Well, they've got into it again in this race too, so there's some rivalries that are going to trigger on throughout this season, I feel. Comes McNamara.
Yep, up the inside of Warboys at Stowe. Can he get the exit done? Well, the outside line isn't the worst place to be at that corner, but it looks like Warboys just yielding it there. I think he recognised that trying to fight it in the braking zone wasn't the best idea. They need to start running single file and working together to catch to catch Cameron Jones, because there is not much left in this race. We are only going to have 4 laps to go when Gibbs crosses the line next, and what a lead he has at the moment. It's once again approaching 3 seconds, the gap at the front. Oh,
Get your breath for a second.
breather.
Get your breath for a second, because I think these last 2 laps are going to be very, very heated. Josh Schultz, I was going to try and bring him up on screen just before because he was getting a little aggressive behind Ash Davies, but I think he's just sort of decided to check up a little bit, maybe catch his breath himself, or he has a last ditch attack on the last couple of laps to try and get himself up to maybe P13 where his teammate Luke Crum is as well.
Yep, Schultz on the march forward here. He's finished pretty consistently so far in this round. Smack dab in the midfield. We'll see what he can do to catch up to Crum and Davis. And it looks like Davis getting a slightly straighter exit than Crum out of Vale. But he's having a lot of trouble keeping it in check through club.
See the provisional championship standings after this round as well. So this result, we put them up on screen very early in this race, and now it's chopped and changed already. So championship standings. Whoa, that's a bit deep from Davis, and I don't think Luke Crum will be too happy with that.
No, I don't think so. Wouldn't be surprised if he's on the blower to race control for that one.
Wouldn't be surprised as well if race control intervened in that. Now, I just want to go back to this for Jai Schultz. Is it just me, or is Jai's wheel very, very low, almost like truck/bus simulator, as opposed to a racing sim?
Yeah,
Almost dirt spec.
Yeah, sprint car level sort of steering wheel angle for him there.
Yes,
I suppose. Yeah, I mean, if he's comfortable, right? I mean, he's all over the back of his teammate now, and doing quite well at getting all of that time back that he's lost over this race. Warboys now back down to 5th as McNamara made his way past him. It looks like the ERT trio are looking to take advantage. Bailey Frid right on the rear bumper of the number 53. It's all about the exit of turn 5. Nice and clean.
Well, this doesn't look like it's going to be clean by the end.
Goodness me.
Lastbomb and Simon Chadwick. I haven't seen too much of Chadwick. I think we've seen every other 9.5 SimSport car, but Simon Chadwick's just been off doing his own little thing. He just gets past there by Lastbomb.
It's been a really good run by Chadwick since his unfortunate finish in race 1. He gained 10 spots in race 2 and now is a further 4 up in race 3. And of course, Vlasblom might be carrying a slight bit of damage from the contact with Blackhall earlier, so we'll have to wait and see how that battle works out. But it's still on here as they start the penultimate lap in the battle for 5th. Warboys with that ERT train behind him, and Bradley Vaughan and Matt Morris aren't too far behind either. If there's a problem for any of these guys, they'll be right there with them.
Yeah, they're not far off at all. There's every chance that they could close this gap down in a heartbeat. It won't take much for that gap to close in. I've just seen a huge moment here. This is Craig Schultz. Now, he saves this, but the more it goes on, the less likely you think that he's going to save this.
Oh, it's those anti-cut curbs. You get over them, they massively destabilize the car.
Redress has been ordered in the incident we were expecting too, Reese.
Yep, of course. Yeah, that's Ash Davis being commanded to give the position back to Luke Crum. So we'll see that happen very shortly. Meanwhile, Bailey Frid right on Blake Warboys here as the final lap will begin for this battle. Robbie Gibbs, his advantage has just continued to extend here. Just a ridiculous turn of pace from the number 2. It's all been about what's been happening behind. Frid here having a look at Warboys into Village, but not far enough to make it work. That's a mistake from Warboys. He runs wide on the exit, and Frid goes, "Thank you very much." Inside line, door is open. I will walk straight through. Or will I? Because goodness me, this has compressed the pack. They're 3 wide, side-by-side contact between Frid and Warboys. How did they hold on to that? To the front of the pack goes Lachlan Capel, and Sebastian Flock trying to take advantage as well in the ERT Mustang. Up the inside is Frid. Warboys has plenty of experience racing side-by-side here. The checkered flag has already flown for Robert Gibbs. He takes the win for the 3rd out of 3 races here. Dominance from car number 2, but still working out here in the battle for 5th. Side by side again. Will Warboys be able to hold on to it at the line? It's side by side, but I think Frid just got him.
Yeah, 35 thousandths of a second. Very, very close in the end there. So great battle in the end too. Warboys will be devastated that he's lost out to 2 of the 3 that he had on that last lap, but well done, Robbie Gibbs. Absolutely well-deserved win, winning all 3 races. Absolutely dominant all night. That car does not look like it's had a scratch on it all night. I don't think I can say the same for the 26 others in the field.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, wow. That was incredible action. And what an introduction to a brand new series here at AOG and on SimSpeed TV. Robbie Gibbs, dominant performance. This time the gap is 4 seconds back to Bo Albert in P2. Great drive from the 06 once more. Cameron Jones and Sean McNamara had to really work hard to find their way past Blake Warboys. They're awarded with 3rd and 4th for their efforts. Capel rounding out the top 5. Bailey Frid, Warboys, Flock, Vaughan and Morris round out the top 10.
From there we go back to Lastblom and Chadwick in 11th and 12th, with Luke Crum and Josh Schultz teammates finished 13th and 14th. Chris Miller, Ash Davis, Craig Schultz in that change of position there, putting Davis back a little bit in the field. Tim Nicol, David Coleman, what an up and down night for him, and also Jake Blackhall. They'll both be looking for redemption next round in 2 weeks' time.
That they will. Ben Siren finishes in 21st. Chris Tomlin, Rob Visser 22nd and 23rd. Stevens, unfortunately, plus Mazzomo finishing way down the order after that incident triggered by David Coleman's spin, which is going to be a post-race investigation by race control. Newens gets to the finish as well. Unfortunately, Trent Gosley retiring from all 3 races tonight. That's a real shame for him. And here are the championship standings. Well, Robbie Gibbs with the biggest advantage possible, absolutely caning it around Silverstone. 305 points for him coming out of this first round.
Maximum points pole award, which is 5 points, and then 3 wins to give him all 100 points for each race. And McNamara, Jones, Albert, that's very, very tight. Because remember, they all had up and down results throughout the night. But yeah, what a fantastic start to this series. We've got 6 rounds still to go. It's going to be absolutely brilliant to watch. 2 weeks' time, we head to yours and one of our favourites. Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing how it plays out.
Yeah, for sure. Watkins Glen, you'll be able to catch that in 2 weeks' time from 7:50 p.m. Australian Eastern. That's going to be a real fun ride with the slipstream at its max around the classic, the Glen. Well, rest of the schedule, make sure that you pencil all of those dates into your calendars, because if this first round is anything to go by, this is going to be so much fun.
Well, that's
having a lot of fun out there. Oh dear. Having a lot of fun out there, winning all 3 races and taking pole position was Robbie Gibbs. He joins us in the commentary box now. Congratulations, Robbie. That was quite the dominant performance. You must be happy with how tonight went.
Yeah, thanks, mate. Definitely happy with how tonight went. Pretty stoked to have some sprint racing in the supercars on the calendar. Get the racing done before bedtime. But no, it was good racing tonight. Good pace from everyone. Just kept it clean and out front.
What do you think of the track choice for this first round? Because this is not a very often used layout of Silverstone in broadcasted races. Did it suit the V8?
Yeah, I think so. I think it's good to get a bit of variety every now and then, but I think they made the right choice in this track. Short, simple, but not boring. I mean, I was still having a good time out front by myself.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that really the racing was defined here by the side-by-side running that we saw all throughout the field. I think a big part of why you got the advantage you did was that everyone else was so close, they were just costing each other time.
Yeah, definitely. I made sure first race I got a good start. I thought, okay, I'll just replicate that in race 2 and 3, and it worked. I think by the time we got to the back straight, I had over a second, and really around a track like this, that's probably all you need, because it's not a very long lap.
Yeah, well, either way, a really good schedule coming up for this series, and considering the success you've had in round 1, I'm sure you're going to be having a lot more fun from here on out. Who do you have to thank for your complete round victory tonight, Robbie?
I just want to thank the team at ERT, Logitech G for jumping on board, obviously the broadcast team, and AOG for getting a V8 Sprint Series going. It's really cool.
Certainly is. Well, Robbie Gibbs will enjoy his victory celebrations there. We've also got Bo Albert in the comms box with us. Pretty good round from you there, Bo. Second in race 3. Got into the top 6 all 3 times tonight. And, well, really good start to the season for you.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm absolutely stoked with that. Normally I wouldn't do an interview for second place unless it was a really good race or something, but like in a supercar, I have to take what results I can get. It's always been my bogey car, so pretty stoked with how tonight went. Practice was very limited, so hopefully this is the sign of a pretty positive turn of fortune for me in this car. So a bit more effort for next week and the rounds to come, hopefully, and try and continue on this form.
Yeah, absolutely. We asked Robbie for his opinion on the track choice for this round. What did you think of the national layout of Silverstone in this car?
To be quite honest, I don't have too many nice things to say about it. I don't really like it. There's not much that it does for me. I probably would have preferred to see even the Grand Prix circuit over this, or the, I think it is the national layout. They use the other section of the circuit from cops and everything. So that would have been nice to see, I think. But hey, look, variety is good. Racing on tracks we don't normally visit, I think, is always good, just so we're not getting into that repetitive nature of, oh, here's Bathurst, here's Spa, there's a calendar. So I think this is good. And I know the track selection does vary quite a lot throughout the season, so it should be pretty good.
Yeah, what do you think about the tracks coming up? We've got obviously tracks like Watkins Glen for round 2. We go to Oschersleben late in the season. Street race at Belle Isle. It's looking pretty good.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Belle Isle's the one that sticks out to me. I know my results have been a little patchy of late around the streets there, but it's just an awesome circuit. It's a concrete jungle with no margin for error. That's one of my favorites for sure. And Oschersleben, one of the first cars I ever drove at Oschersleben on iRacing was the supercar, so I already know how it feels, and it is bloody fun. So I don't know how the racing will be necessarily, but for us drivers, Oschersleben is going to be phenomenal.
Yeah, well, I'm looking forward to seeing how the racing goes there later on in the season. Well, big congratulations to you, Bo. You end up with a very good championship placing out of this first round. Who do you have to thank for your results?
Just a massive shout out to the guys at AOG for making the series happen, and you guys as well for the awesome broadcast. Wait to watch it back.
Yeah, it was certainly one of our best shows in quite some time. Thanks for joining us, Bo, Albert, and we'll have a chat to you hopefully next round at Watkins Glen. And it looked like the championship standings were a little bit skewed, Jay.
I clicked the wrong button. These are now more accurate.
Yeah, these are how the points stand. Well, of course, Gibbs with a huge margin over Jones, who managed to get 2 podiums tonight. But have a look at that. Only 1 point between McNamara and Albert, and also Warboys and Flock very close too.
Yeah, it's very, very close the whole way through, isn't it? It's going to be really cool to watch this progression. We'll have live points on screen throughout the season. Also, be able to keep a real track on it throughout. And fingers crossed we see someone potentially take it to Robbie Gibbs later on in the season as well.
Yep, we shall see. We have 6 more rounds of racing to come after this one. The next one's going to be in 2 weeks' time. Monday, the 26th of June, 7:50 p.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time. Make sure that you've marked it in your calendar because, wow, what a round it was here at Silverstone to start off the Aussie Online Gaming V8 Super Series. We want to thank you all for tuning in across the course of this night of racing, and big thanks of course to Bowler Media as well, making sure that there's an awesome screenshot compliment to every round of AOG racing. I'm Reese Gardner, Jake Kennedy with me in the comms box. Make sure to subscribe to us here on YouTube at SimSpeed TV. We are SimSpeed Esports Network on Facebook and at SimSpeed TV on Twitter. Follow us on your socials. Thank you very much, and we'll see you next time.
World of Outlaws Dirt Racing is available now. Download your copy today.